Hello, this is Bob Steele. In this lecture, we will be taking a look at Chapter 5, Activity-Based Costing and Management. Objective number 1 will be to compute product cost under a traditional volume-based production cost system. So first we're going to take a look at a traditional volume cost process system. We're going to compare and contrast that to the activity-based costing system. The activity-based costing system is generally thought to be more precise than the traditional costing system. But, of course, it costs more money to be more precise. So there are pros and cons of each. And the things that we will learn in this, one, we'll learn how to do these two costing methods. We'll learn why to do them. We will also learn in doing this allocation of ratios and how to use ratios to make judgments, in this case in terms of the cost of something. But these same type of ideas are going to be in product performance ratios. When we assess how well people are doing in their job, we often use some kinds of ratios, and the questions that are going to come up here are the same types of questions that would come up if you got your job performance ratio numbers, and that is, are they fair, are they accurate, are they giving us the information that we need to get? So anytime we look at numbers and ratios, that we always have to ask the question, are these ratios giving an accurate picture in order to achieve the goal that we want to achieve? And in this case, the goal that we're trying to achieve is to price our goods accurately and to have an accurate cost in order to do that. So when we take a look at the costs of the things we make, we're pretty confident usually on how much the direct material went in there, how much direct labor there, but then there's this huge pool of overhead that we are currently allocated, and we've been talking about allocating it through one cost driver. So remember, if we have the concept that we have different types of jobs that are different sizes, the question is, how do we allocate these costs to the jobs or the pools? And if they're different sizes, then we could use an activity base, such as direct labor hours, machine hours, in order to come up with an estimate of how big one project is compared to another. So that's good. Now we're going to think about, after we take about that's the normal method, then we're going to take a look at how to maybe do that more precisely, because there's a lot of things in overhead, and maybe that one driver isn't the best thing to allocate all the costs. So first we'll take a look at the traditional method, and we have this company processes 3 complex printed circuit boards referred to as Model 1, Model 2, and Model 3, quite originally named. The following information is obtained from the company records. So Model 1 has units 10,000, Model 2 20,000, Model 3 4,000, runtime 1 run of 10,000 units, Model 2 4 runs of 5,000 units, 10 runs of 400 units for Model 3. If we take a look at some more data here, we have Model 1 has direct materials of 50, direct labor of 60, and manufacturing overhead, which is what we'll take a look at in a second. This being the number that we're going to zero in on. Is that 99 accurate? How do we come up with that 99? Is it accurate? And how are we using it in the traditional method versus the activity-based costing method? Model 2, 90, 80, and once again, the 132 is what we're going to look at. Model 3, 20, 40, and the 66, and that comes up with our totals here. And then we've got the traditional information includes additional information, sorry about that. We also have the direct materials, which is the same numbers here. We have direct labor hours, so now we're talking about hours, 3, 4, and 2. We have the setup time. This is the run time in hours, the 10, 10, and 10. And we have machine time, which is 1, 1.25, and 2. So remembering that data, let's take a look at how we are calculating the overhead. So if we took a look at the units produced, we have Model 1 10, Model 2 20, and Model 3 4. We're using, in this case, direct labor. So direct labor, you recall, was 3, 4, and 2. That's the thing that we're kind of thinking of as the driving factor to tell us how large the jobs is, or how much to allocate to the jobs. And so we have a total cost or processes. So we have total hours of 30, 80, and 8 gives us total of 118. So if we use that as our, basically our driver to see how large one activity is to the other, we would take our total budgeted overhead. And remember, that's all the stuff that we put in this pool. It could be, it could be the glue in something. It could be the supervisor's salary. It could be the depreciation on the factory. It could be the utilities on the factory. So it's a big number, includes a lot of stuff that we couldn't apply directly to a job or process. And so we're going to take that, divide it by the 118, the hours. That gives us our rate, that $33. So then we're going to go back and take that $3 times the 33. That's where we got our $99. That's where we got this portion of the amount of the total cost for Model 1, 2, and 3. And so we got the 4 times the 33 gives us the 132. The 2 times 33 gives us the 66. So if we were going to then use that information, that would mean that our cost came out to $209 in the case of Model 1. And so what are we going to charge for it? We have a practice of charging $209, and our markup rate is 25%. So if we multiply that times 1.5, then we're going to charge $261.25, meaning we just take the cost that we figured out and mark it up times our markup percentage, and that will give us our price. Now, the question later, of course, when we go to the next step is going to be, is that price accurate? Can we make it more competitive? Do we need to be more accurate in terms of how competitive we are? And in order to do that, we could have better information. We could put more money and time into being more precise in basically getting this number, and this number, and this number. And the question is it worth the time to do that in order to see if we can come up with a more accurate cost number, which might help us with our pricing? And in some industries it would, some industries it probably wouldn't. That's the trade-off that we will be looking at on the next time. So objective number 2, explain how an activity-based costing system operates, including use of the 2-stage procedure for cost assignment, the identification of activity cost pools, and the selection of cost drivers. So this, of course, will be the next kind of step that we could do to be more precise. And once again, we're thinking about that allocation of overhead. So ABC Systems follows a 2-stage procedure to assign overhead costs to products. First, stage 1, identify significant activities and assign overhead costs to each activity in proportion to resources used. Stage 2, identify cost drivers appropriate to each activity and allocate overhead to the products. So objective 3, explain the concept of cost levels, including unit level, batch level, product sustaining level, and facility level. So once again, we're going to take this overhead and try to apply it out more precisely. First thing we could do is we can take that and put it, all of our costs that are into the overhead, into these levels, and then we can allocate in these groups rather than this big lump sum. And so if we have the unit level, those are going to be things that happen for each unit of production. So those are things that we have to do for each unit. So it'll probably use some kind of activity driver that will be applied to each unit. Batch level, on the other hand, might be something that we apply to each batch of units rather than each individual units, and therefore we might have different cost drivers in order to set up batch level activities. Product sustaining levels might be something that we're, fixing the machines, doing maintenance and stuff like that. That might not happen every time, but it might happen. It's going to happen at some points in time. So therefore, once again, how do we allocate that to different, to the cost of prices at that level? What are we going to use as our activity driver? And the facility level is going to be even broader, facility supporting activities that, once again, it may not apply to either the unit, the batch, or even the overarching level. It's going to be more of the broadest kind of category. So once we have those categories, the unit level, the batch level, the producing sustaining level, we can say that the machine cost pool, we can apply the costs within there, are here. The batch level, we have the setup, we have the receiving and the number here, the material handling, the quality assurance, the packaging here, the product sustaining level, engineering cost pool, our dollar amount here and the facility level here. So now we're going to have to allocate basically these different batches in a different way, and we're going to try to be more accurate with that by choosing different cost drivers that might be more appropriate, which may not be just direct labor. We may need to use something else in order to make the allocation between the costs of different models in this case. And that's what we will continue on next time.